It's Alan Osborne. You know, if I'm on here, it's because you can't make this shit up. So it's September 15th, 2025. Got a couple of issues to talk about here. Make sure you get my phone on silent since people have been blowing it up here. Anyway, just freestyling this again this afternoon. Uh, anyway, so what reason I'm here, if you saw the death threat ones, imagine that I hadn't got no more text. Somebody must be worried. I guess they thought that was going to intimidate me. But big news today. So like I said, the key points of my show the other day is, what is the BCC going to do about accountability? And one of the reasons I'm doing this show today is because Satan has popped up behind me, in my opinion. And that's what we had in our staff here. We had this steaming pile of shit. This liberal piece of shit running, planning, and playing like he was God. Now, this same guy lost his real estate license to fraud charges, and the BCC and the administration, Stan Sunday, left him right in place because they had to. And Danny Glidewell defended this guy even through these transcripts. Danny, you should be ashamed of yourself for trying to cover this up. At least Brad wanted the damn truth out. So let's talk about what happened today. Well, today, they had to release the executive sessions transcripts that we don't know happens until the county spends its money. So let me tell you some things that, first of all, came out in that. So, you know, we know they voted to settle, but I want to make sure I get this right. In the transcript, Clay Atkinson says this to the... Now, Danny doesn't vote for it because, by gosh, he said they're not proven guilty. Even though the insurance... The state insurance had already thrown in the towel with every bit of their coverage at $300 grand. Okay, they'd already thrown the towel in because they knew the risk. But somehow, dummy Glidewell knows it better because he's just trying to make a political stance instead of doing what he should be doing. But here's some key stuff from the damn transcripts. Clay Atkinson. This is what he tells the county commissioners. This has been a disaster of a process application. I could not defend what the planning has done to the Hollands in front of a jury. I'm here if you need anything. Okay, so it's what he's telling the commissioners. He couldn't defend this. Also in these transcripts, key things of them, Matt Carpenter, by his own choice, held 13 alcohol applications because he didn't want to sign them. And the Glidewell's biggest worry is this is going to get into the public, what we're talking about. Well, it should, Danny, because it's public business. It's funded by public money. And if it didn't come out of this county, it came out of state sales tax or lottery. It's all public money, Danny, and it should. Matt Carpenter openly told people in there about the Holland stuff when they asked him why he wasn't approving stuff, and it was quoted as he was playing king in these transcripts, and that Mac's answer was, because I can. Now, who gave this is why the planning director should report to the BCC. He was out there breaking the rules, and nobody could hold him accountable because he had dirt on other people, and other people had dirt on him, and you know the damn deal. But his answer was, because I can. Now, if that's not a schoolyard bully running with your money and your power and being unchecked by your elected officials, and Donna, why aren't you going to Mike Atkinson and ask for an investigation on the millions that Mac may have intentionally caused the county harm? This was intentional in some of it, and it gets worse in my case, and other cases are talked about in here too, but Glidewell cuts that off because he knows people are going to hear about it. Brad Drake and Donna have a discussion, and Drake calls it the cancers that are still inside government. So if y'all know what they are, Brad, just come on out and say who it is and what they are, and quit hiding it. Why y'all scared to talk about it? You're there to represent us. We don't want cancer in our government, so if you know it's there, quit hiding it, Brad. Even after he was told, Mac refused to sign the liquor license, and John said it was because of a grudge. Now, you can't make this shit up. So let's think about it. In my case, Mac ignored state letters, Dr. Harvey Harper's input, $700,000 of studies, letters from DEO, determinations from the Florida Board of Engineers, but because he could, Mac just said Sandestin was in compliance, but it wasn't. You want to know something else? You think the Hollands got it bad too? During this time frame, that my court ruling and my request for admissions now prove, Tony Corman and Mac teamed up to fire a code officer for trying to enforce the 8909 ordinance. Now, when I file complaints, as Brad asked Stan, Michael Gainey and Tony Corman have fully investigated that, found no merit. Michael Gainey and Tony Corman didn't even write in my complaints, which my complaint was 8909 was being violated. Nowhere in any of my code complaints did Mac, Tony Corman, Michael Gainey, Michael Lynch, or any of those other Peckerwoods ever actually write my complaint down. So they were dismissing what they wouldn't write down. Why aren't these people terminated? This was intentional. How many millions have banks lost because these people interfered with the process of law? That's right, they've got another legal suit for firing an employee that the courts have now confirmed was correct when she tried to enforce the law. How ironic. They drug their feet so damn long that what they deny being true has been proven true in a court. So it's not the fact that they're going to have to pay money or did pay money. They talk about the RV park mess. This is bad, okay? We still have more problems out there, and Brian Kellenberger, this is in your lap. How are you going to deal with these employees who intentionally hid this for some of them their whole career at the county? Corman, since the day he got here, has been covering up Sandestin and other things and got us into lawsuits. He was the acting administrator and he covered it up. No forgiveness for Tony Corman. He's an ex-cop and he knew what he was doing. He knew he was doing selective enforcement and he was doing it at the bidding of somebody. This is why every person hired by Stan Sunday needs to be reviewed by the county for what happened in hiring. Like I said, every day the county ignores this court order, Donna's volunteering to break the law. So Donna, if these people in fact, Donna, you signed one of the affidavits where Mac admitted to not doing his job. So the question is, Donna, are you going to go get Mac investigated for how many millions of dollars in false compliancy and didn't give people permits? Paying the people is not the end of the solution for the damages that you incurred. It's showing future staff people that if you act like this, you shall be terminated. That's right. Guess what happens to the guys who don't make it through basic training in the military? They're not in the military because they can't meet standards. Here you have leadership people failing to enforce standards, and there is no excuse for that. They must be terminated. Are these the cancers that we discuss? Damn right they are, and this was one of them. Mac's sisters, F you. This guy right here is a straight-up criminal. And the fact that the BCC let him keep his job when they all knew he'd lost, he was in charge of our real estate after he lost his real estate license. You can't make that up. But look at it coming full circle. Look at it. You know, in the Adams Holmes case, remember the county engineer Greg Graham who quit? How about Chance Powell, the current county engineer who's ignoring this court order? And I'm going to send him this video so the Florida Board of Engineers, when they get his package, hey, Donna, call Chance Powell up there in front of everybody and say, Chance, are you and the other engineers not going to enforce this court order? Because the court says that 8909, which Chance claims isn't in effect, the ADA application adopts a 6.7-inch retention standard in 24 hours, and engineers have not been enforcing it. Open space requirements not been enforced by planning or the drainage or the traffic. How far out of compliance? How can they tell us we have to honor ordinances to allow them to overbuild, but we can't enforce the ordinances that require them not to trash the place while they do it? You can't make this shit up. But for the Hollands, I want to go back to Clay's quote in there. And I want to go back to the fact that Mac just openly messed with them. To be nice in my words. Quote, this has been a disaster of a process application. I could not defend what planning has done to Hollands in front of a jury. I'm here if you need anything. Excuse me, that part comes off something else. Somebody sent me that. I could not defend what planning has done to the Hollands in front of a jury. Period. Now, we didn't even get through discovering. Clay already knows that. We have no idea what's out there, and there weren't a lot of depositions done. So for Clay and Bill Warner, and more importantly, the state insurance guy, who, as they quote, is a guy who says, we ain't paying nobody nothing, that guy went all in on the Hollands right off the bat for all 300 of their coverage, and basically told the county, if you don't settle it, we're going to give you what's left of it, and you're on your own, because we're not defending this crap. So that's the truth about what's happened. And what's happened with my death threats? Not a damn thing, probably. Hey, check out this. Let me show you how full circle this is going to go. When fat-ass political connected person Graham Fountain worked for Sheriff Mike Atkinson, I made a complaint in 2009 about the law being broken on what the judge just ruled was the law. And Graham Fountain and Mike Atkinson wanted to investigate me for turning it in. But they had an attorney that advised them not to deal with it. You know who the attorney was? Dana Matthews, who I believe still works for the Sheriff's Department. Now, he advised the sheriff not to investigate these violations. Guess who was my opponent in the court ruling for the Sandestin investments on the NOPC? That's right, represented by Dana Matthews. So basically, Dana Matthews, Becknell bought it, SDI, in 2010, and Dana was his attorney. So Dana recommended not to investigate the development order violations that his client was buying. You see what I mean? Let me explain this to you. That's fucking dirty. And that's Mike Atkinson. And Mike, and I'm sure Mark Glass, fuck you. Fuck you. If anybody else, remember what happened when somebody death threatened Mike? Yeah. All this was true. And that's your government. That's the people that Brad Drake was going to tell. He was going to take all this information to Governor DeSantis himself. Oh, yeah. Mr. Oral Drake, boy. He was going to do something with this information. Well, here it is, Brad. Here's a court ruling. There's the info on Mac. Go look at my stuff. It's all been admitted. The law's in effect. Why ain't you raising hell, Brad? Why ain't you raising hell, Danny? You voted against it when you were a planning board member. Why not? Didn't Scott Brannon come tell you, Danny, in your office that I was right a long time ago? Yeah, this is bullshit right here. It's bullshit American style. And as everybody said, Charlie Kirk was a turning point, and we're all done with this horse shit of government and people who are overpowering regular old Americans and making the rest of us as our life is paying for their mistakes and dirty connections. As far as I'm concerned, these people are just Nancy Pelosi's wandering through our community, and it's time to charge some of these people who caused millions of dollars. There's other lawsuits. Think about it. In that transcript, it talks about 12 other people beside the Hollands who had their liquor licenses messed with by this guy intentionally. This is wrong. Somebody needs to be charged. And when you add this with the other cases, and when you add this with the court rulings, and when you add this with the affidavits, that's a very multi-million-dollar crime. This man right here certified compliance when he had court documents, certified documents, state documents, and board documents, and laws and ordinance that said he had to enforce them, and he chose not to, at others' peril and expense. You can't make this shit up on the Alan Osborne Show, but you can educate everybody, and you can keep your freedom of speech. And you can, and all you people who send me them threats by text, stick them up your hind end. I ain't scaring nobody. Nobody's scared. Till the second he left this earth, Charlie Kirk did not live in fear, and none of the rest of us should either. I'm Alan Osborne, and that's the way it is. Y'all keep them straight out there, because they can't keep them damn selves straight. Sorry for the profanity, but that's just part of it. I ain't running for office. I'm just out here telling the truth. Till next time, you can't make this shit up. I'm Alan Osborne.